Hi, I'm Tom Elliott, founder of OcuRoute, and I'm pleased to be sponsoring this podcast. If you need help taking control of your CI/CD pipelines, come see us at ocuroute.com.
Hi, I'm Matt Little. I'm the Director of Counselling and Education, Empowering Awareness.Asia, and I'm a proud sponsor of this podcast.
Yeah, hi Tony.
What's going on, sir? It's good to see you.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity again for my channel to interview you.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Well, thank you for your patience in trying to work this out. Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll have some fun. What do you want to talk about?
So it has been long time I have interviewed you a couple of years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and I see a lot of change in you. So what's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah. I guess that was about 2021 or so. Maybe you were just
Yeah,
starting. You had like 40 videos at most, and now you've got what, thousands, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
correct, sir.
Your little feed, it used to be little, and now you have tons of followers, and you've talked to people all over the world. Um, yeah, when you started with me, it was not new, but it was close. It was close. I was one of your first ones.
So thank you again for believing me at the time in the beginning stage. So I already introduced you. I got new followers and new viewers. Can you introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah. I watch a lot of your videos. I was curious. Have you made? I don't know how it works. I'm old, but if you made that a career, like, do you make your living off of doing this now?
No, no, sir. It's a passion that I'm doing. I'm actually a DevOps engineer, a software engineer. That's my
I
full-time role.
I see. So you do software engineering, and this is a
Yeah,
hobby still.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see that becoming your career, and you leave engineering behind and become or do you just
Yeah,
like
maybe.
meeting people? You just like doing it?
This is so satisfying because experts like you, who has huge knowledge in different industries,
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in acquiring knowledge and solving different problems. I learned so much from this. So this is
Yeah.
not just a passion; it's a knowledge gathering, resource. I will call it as.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn a lot about, I'm sure, life and experiences from other people. And that's the only way you can get it is to talk to other people. And sadly, I don't know if I'm right. I just know kind of what you feel, but with the way technology is, it kind of feels like people miss out on that now more than they used to, because you were more like, but then again, like this right here, I couldn't talk to you in the old days without this technology.
Correct.
But I feel like people use technology to kind of isolate themselves as
Yeah,
opposed to
exactly.
meeting new people. But
Correct.
but maybe it helps you meet new people. I don't know. I met you, thanks to this. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. Like it's backwards. So yeah.
So you have done a lot of work. Can you please introduce yourself to my audience so that they can know what you are?
Yeah. My name's Tony Saragas. I have done the same job now for about 15 years, but I've been an attorney for, geez, 31 years now. I graduated law school in 1994, but I've been a judge with Social Security and working for them since 2010. So right at 15 years this year. And so basically, I deal with disability. So people that are injured or they have health problems and they have trouble working, I evaluate their cases to see if they qualify for help from the government. That's kind of my job now. But I live in Kentucky, happily married, got two grown kids, and at my stage of life, you would consider me a senior citizen. I now qualify for senior citizen discounts. Like if I go to McDonald's, I can get coffee. I can get coffee cheap. That's kind of where I am. But I'm very fortunate. I don't have a lot of complaints. So we can talk about anything, but you probably won't get me to be very unhappy today. Uh, Everything's going okay.
So I see you are into physical fitness also.
I mean, it's kind of I, I don't necessarily do it for the physical fitness, but it's just been part of my life. I played soccer in college and tried to
Okay.
play high school, and
Yeah.
just working out was kind of a thing. But now it's more just a habit that keeps me mentally calm. Like it's more for mental clarity. I noticed that if I don't do it, in a few days, I'm not very fun to be around. It gets very tense. But it used to be, it's like everything else. It evolves. But you did it in your 20s for vanity, like you want to look good, and and then in your 30s and 40s, you do it because you need to be able to move to keep up with your kids, like to be active, to coach,
Right.
or to, play with them. And then now in your 50s, you're doing it to stay healthy and to live as long as you can. And I find as I get older, it's more even for mental health than it is physical.
So in 1992, you have actually studied your degree, and it's been 31 years, and you are into this profession from long time. So, I mean, how do you define this change, this transformation in you in different ages, and
Yeah.
where are you right now?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit when we tried to do this last time. And I think this is my memory of that conversation. But we talked about what we got. I got this from my grandmother, and we talked about, I've watched you deal with, your mother and her passing in the last little bit. And my mother's still alive, and I love her to death. But I was affected more by the way you were by your mother, by my grandmother, and she died in 1998. But she had said something to me when we were talking about getting married and love and romance, and she had said, love is easy, life is hard. And what she meant by that is when you find somebody and you have that special connection, the heart, that's easy, that's fun. Love should be easy. Mother and son should be easy. You have no obstacles to love and to be happy with them. The obstacles come from outside, and that's the life part. And the world around you is constantly giving you these obstacles or distractions that take you have to protect what's important, and you're focused on the love and keep that away. And if you do that, any marriage, any relationship can stay great, right? So what I learned, she was totally right about that. And what I also learned though is that she was wiser than she knew, because that little rule applies to everything. And to answer your question, I would think that evolving as a lawyer is the same. Law is easy. You can be good at it if you work hard and you study and you do your best, right? But the issue is that over time, no matter what you're doing, law, love, whatever, uh, the world around you is constantly, creating distractions. It could be a lack of focus because everybody's on their social media or phone. It could be something bad happens and somebody gets a sickness, or it could be financial. There's always something. And it's even more so, I feel, now in the world we live in today than it used to be. There's just more distractions, more things to do, more things to worry about. And what I find is, over time, that's still always the goal, to focus, to concentrate on what is important. And that's your job and career. It's obviously important. And over time, I feel like it gets harder. Like, and it's not harder. It's just, I guess it is harder. And I just don't know why. It could be part society that things are just more, like I said, it's just more distraction, but it also could be some fatigue. It could be, I feel like, that saying that you can't teach old dogs new tricks, right? I think you can, but I think you lose a little energy. Meaning, for example, if I started now raising children and trying to be a good dad with the person I am now, I don't know that I have the same energy to be able to focus and stay on it the way I was when I was 20 or 30, right? And same thing for law. Like, I'm into my career. I've done the same thing for years, So it doesn't take as much energy to stay focused and to do a good job. If you told me, Tony, you're going to learn something completely new now and start all over, I don't know that you have the energy as you get old. It's like a computer or a car. It just kind of slowly, it's not decay. It's just, okay, let me give you this example. You stop me whenever you want to change the topic, but I used to watch this old movie about a baseball pitcher. It's called For the Love of the Game. It's not a great movie, but it's got a good analogy in it. The pitcher is pitching baseball, and at first in the game, he can just close out all the fans, all the noise, all the distraction, and he can just see nothing but what he's got to do. And he calls it closing the mechanism. And by the 6th inning, his arm hurts. By the 7th inning, he's tired. By the 8th inning, he's not doing as great. So there's distraction. And he tries to close out everything and only hear and see what's important. And it gets harder and harder. And that's my point. I feel like when you ask me how law has changed, it's not really as a profession. I don't see a lot. I know, there's AI and all these different things that have come into play, but it's still about doing the best job you can do and focusing. And I would say that the main difference is, as I've gotten older, is that ability to close things out that are not important and focus on what is important. And that's everything of life. Whether it's marriage, you just kind of get complacent or you don't concentrate as hard, and that can lead to decay. And every day you want to refocus and recommit, whether it's, toward your family or your wife or your job or whatever it is you're doing. That's the secret to me. If you can keep that ability, that skill, then every other skill can be done. Every other task can get there. So it's what she said, every task is really easy if you can deal with the hard part, and that's life. All right, I'll shush. What you got?
So, how you made things happen without getting distracted? You said it is not possible not to be distracted in the social world.
Yeah, it's probably different for everybody. Some people make lists. Some people, need a life coach. Some people need a trainer. Some people, get it from different areas. But I would say I got my ability from my dad. And, my dad, I'm actually going to Greece actually next week for the first time. I've never been to Greece, never been overseas. And he's from Greece. He came when he was 9 in 1956 to America and couldn't speak English. And, they had a really hard life that ended up really turning out pretty good. And it's the immigrant story of America. He came through Ellis Island and his mother and brought 3 kids, and they just made a life. And they're very tough people to do that, And when he got here, there weren't a lot of things he could do, not knowing the language, and they didn't have a lot of money, but he learned to work hard. And a little bit of that was, anxiety of being different, right? Of not knowing your way around, of being in a different place, right? And the way to me, what he taught me, the way you deal with anxiety or the way you deal with fear is to act, to work. And I watched him, he worked 4 jobs at one time, sometimes when I was a kid, so that we would have enough food and a good place to live. He was always working, and I didn't know it then, but as I got older, I look back at him now, and thankfully he's still alive. We could talk about it, but I learned how to focus and work from him. And he was constantly basically blocking out anxiety or fears of not being good enough or not doing enough or not doing enough for his family or whatever by work. And, I learned that to me, you just outwork what your fears are. You outwork what your anxieties are. And that's the best way to handle it. And those distractions, to me, I'm using as an analogy for anxiety. Like those obstacles are things that you have to overcome, whatever they are. I'm calling it anxiety, but the way you do it is you work. And I got that example from him. So that's in me. It's always been in me. I got my first job at 13, and I've always been working ever since, doing something. And it's just natural by watching him to, focus and to try to keep those obstacles out of your mind. I was telling you, can you still hear me, Si? Did you lose me? I can't hear you now. I don't know what happened. I can see you. It shows your microphone is off. Is that right? Is your microphone off?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So the last thing I said was about you get all that?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Okay, great. I just missed your next question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so all these influences, your father, your grandmother, and you into sports, and you into the law system. So all these experiences, like what kind of a personality that that you have developed today, and what you are today, like in totality.
Tell me that last part again. I'm sorry, son.
What kind of a personality that you developed with all these things in totality?
What did I get from them in totality, from my father and
Yeah,
grandmother? Yeah, I'd say
and also from your profession and also being in sports. I also remember that you said you are a trainer. You train students, right? So how these experiences like?
yeah. Um, yeah, I feel like I said, work ethic from him, watching him do what he did. And then I would say from her, it particularly was just toughness. That to be a single mother, 3 kids, come to America, with nothing, and to make a life. When she was older, and I was old enough to take her around. I helped her paint the house. When I was 10, we would go to grocery stores, and I would watch her. She would take the label off of, say, ketchup from the house, and she would go to the store and she would match up the labels to make sure she was buying the right thing with what she saw in the store, because she was dealing with the fact that she couldn't speak or read the language in a very small town in Kentucky that didn't have a lot of Greek community to help her. So just to go through what she did to when she was young, she was coming out of World War II, and she described waiting for supply trucks from the military to come by and drop food because they didn't have anything to eat. The place had been decimated. Her husband died at sea in the Greek Navy in the late 40s as part of the post-war effort. So she was kind of stranded with 3 little kids. And so I took, again, work ethic from him, toughness from her. I don't know that people today are as tough as that, because we don't have to be. Things are pretty comfortable, in a lot of respects, whether it's technology or not for everyone, but for a lot of people, you wonder if you could do what she did or what they had to live through. So I'm trying to remember your question, but that's what I took from them over time, and that's why I'm anxious to go back. I've never been, so we're going to see where they lived. Hopefully find the house they lived in. I actually found all of their birth certificates and citizenship papers. And when I'm over there, I can become a dual citizen. I'll be a Greek citizen through the fact that they were both born there. So I'm excited about that, as just to preserve family history, just to be a part of that line. And then to answer your other part of your question was, so I took from that, you're kind of, you're not obligated, but you kind of feel a sense of purpose when you get good examples like that. When you get like your mother, my grandmother, my dad, they give that to you, even just by not even intending it, but it's just what you see, what you watch, what you learn from them. You're not obligated, but you feel a sense of purpose that you should pass that on. And so that was part of your question was, why that got into coaching, why I got into teaching young people. You kind of feel that need to take what you've learned, like that principle of love is easy, life is hard. All those lessons I got as a kid from different teachers and coaches, you want to pay that forward, I guess is the phrase. And that's what got me into it. And then I realized I really enjoy sports and kids, and it was a lot of fun. So that keeps you in it. But that's why you start. That's what I got from them.
And how this 31 years of, being a judge, how this experience actually made you, like, as a person, like as a human being, how this impacted you?
Yeah, what you do, the good news about that is when you do like a thing like coaching, or like you're doing, where you're meeting all these people, coaching exposes you to all different kinds of people, different races, different socioeconomic statuses, different attitudes, different levels of knowledge. And your job as a coach, and I coached 20 years of high school, middle school sports from age, say, 12 to 18. I don't know if your viewers know, but I'm not coming at this as a I'm no expert in anything, but I did do pretty well. I was 2004 National Coach of the Year. So, across the country. So my point is, I didn't do it half-heartedly. I really invested a lot of time outside of my legal career in coaching. And my point is, though, in doing that, when you deal with so many different kinds of kids, and your job is to put them together into something that accomplishes more as a group than they could by themselves. That's the whole point of team sport. That's why we do it. That's why it's fun. That's what the motivation is that, a lot of times you can do more with other people than you can by yourself. And that goes for any job or anything we do. I feel like the potential is greater when you have a group over one. And that's the coach's job, right? To merge those different people into something better. The point is, to answer your question, what that gave me is experience to be empathetic or to understand all different kinds of people. And that's perfect in what I do, because I promise you, I see all different kinds of people with all different kinds of problems. And even the ones that don't qualify are definitely going through a lot of hardship. And that prior experience helped me be more understanding and appreciative of my life and the problems that they have in their life.
So you have given me answer, which was of next question. But my question was, uh, this being in law, like being a judge, how this experience impacted you as a human being?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we were just getting to it. You're very appreciative. I've never had anybody come before me that I would want to trade lives with them. Like I said, even the ones that don't qualify, they're all having a hard time, or nobody wants to come to apply for assistance from the federal. They would rather have a life that's going well. And so they're all hurting, and they're all stressed, upset, scared. And, it's nice to be able, that's kind of how I feel good about my job. It's not the most glamorous job. It's probably not the most important job, out there. It's never going to, make me rich and famous or president or whatever, but I feel good that even the ones that don't win, they need to feel like that the government or somebody actually cares enough to listen and to look at what they're going through and just give them their day in court, I guess it would be called, or give them their day to express what's going on with them and see if there's any help for them in an honest, fair fashion. I used to call it, I used to have an acronym for it. Like I feel like most days I'm the face of the government, okay? Meaning a lot of people go through their whole lives and you get a driver's license or you get a social security card, but you don't really see the government in your life. You know, yeah, the government builds roads, but they take it for granted. It's just something that's there. The road, you don't see the government actually working. And my job allows me, people see the government through my face. Like I may be the only government person that they ever deal with. And that's the most important day of their lives to see if they get help. You know, that's their whole life is that one day. And so it's very important that they see the government through me cares like that. If nothing else, that somebody, you know, listened and cared. And so I feel good about that, even if I have to turn them down.
I see you also wrote a book.
Yeah, I did. So I took in like you said before, we were talking about like paying it forward. So I loved sports as a kid. I loved coaching later because it's the same experience that you're paying that forward. You're trying to create that experience for somebody else. And I took all those lessons from my coaches, those little sayings that are great, you know, the lessons you learn that you stick in your head. And I tried to write a story. It's fiction, but I wrote a story about a family, father and son, really, and that are dealing with life, all the obstacles that we talked about. And in the book, I try to use all those lessons and put those into the story, which is what you're doing as a coach. Like the people you coach, whether it's life or sports or whatever, nobody wants the bitter medicine of all the practices and the training, right? They want it to be fun. It's easier when it's fun. They want it to taste good, right? So that's what I did with the coaching. You know, you're trying to almost distract the kids while you're slowly injecting them with what they need. You try to make the practices fun so they don't even know they're working hard. And that's kind of what the book is. The book is a fun story, a fictional story that's entertaining. My goal was entertaining while you're slowly injecting all these life lessons in there from those coaches. And so if somebody picks that book up in 50 years and they want to know, hey, what would Tony have said about this? Or my kids even, if, you know, they don't listen to their parent because their parent is, you know, their parent. As you resist teaching sometimes. But someday, you know, as they're ready or as they need advice, I may not be around anymore. And it's in that book. Every lesson that I learned over the course of 50 years is in that book. I'll give you an example. One is a great quote that I got in the 9th grade. It's another reason why you should be very careful with your words, because you never know which sentence or which statement that somebody will remember. You never know which ones hit home. But for whatever reason, my 9th grade gym teacher, right? He was my track coach. He said a quote about ignorance and arrogance that I always remember. He said, you can be ignorant or you can be arrogant, but you can't be both, right? And what he meant was, and I've learned this is very true in every job I ever had, in every situation, you can be really ignorant, meaning not know what you're doing, okay? You can be pretty incompetent. But if you're nice about it and you're nice to people, they'll help you. They'll help you get through it. Or you can be really good at your job. You can be really knowledgeable, and you can be as arrogant and as mean as you want to be, but you just can never make a mistake. If you're that good and you can always get it right, You can be as mean as you want. But what you can't be is arrogant and ignorant at the same time. So if you're incompetent and you're mean to people, you're destined to failure. And my point is just one lesson, but I learned that and it stuck with me, and I've always seen that, and it's always true. So when I do something, I got dogs. So I'm just learning. Hold on a second. All right. Yeah. We're just learning something. I find that if you're nice to people and you're empathetic and you ask in a nice way and you seek out help, human beings, people will help you. People will reach out to you and receive you, and vice versa. If you are knowledgeable about your job, they'll soak that knowledge up if you're kind. So I mean, it's no different than there's all kinds of different. There's no original thought anymore. There's just philosophies that are said differently, and that's what a coach does all the time, is try to find a new, clever, fun way to say the same lesson that Socrates or Plato or everybody else used to say. And like the Rock would say, the famous guy now would say, be the hardest guy working in the room, the hardest working guy in the room, and be kind. Like those are his 2 rules. And it's just a cool way, and he's cool. So people listen to that. But every coach out there, every philosopher out there is trying to say the same thing in a nice, cool, new way that somebody will listen to. And he said that to me in the 9th grade, and it was cool to me. And so I kept it. So just be careful what you say, because some kid somewhere watching this video will listen to you, and they'll take what you say and they'll remember it. So it's important that you make it good.
Great. This question is going to be extremely useful for the AI experts AI, artificial intelligence experts, for, the technology experts who are working on advanced technology. So, I wanted your experience to be contributing to their development. And tell me that, like, you was a communicator, being as a judge, and you are being the bridge in between government and the people. And you was a great communicator, and you are into the training. You are a trainer. You are interacting with diversified people. You saw different kind of human beings communicating, and observing, giving inputs and taking information from them. And you wrote a book, and you become a writer as well. You are able to express what you felt and what your experiences are. Like, you have different kind of communication skills, and with diversified people in being in different professions, and also having experiences with your grandmother and with your father. So combining all these things, when it comes to the communication skills of yours, like, in this age, if you, from the earliest age, from the university to till today, how
Yeah.
do you define it? Like, diversified communication, how, that is working in human's life?
Yeah. Um, I think about this a lot, probably more than I should, but I wouldn't call it worry, but there's an unknown. And so I do understand, all those human experiences and skills that you just described, that somebody compiles over the course of their life to communicate, to understand, to help. You can kind of see with technology in a lot of areas, but that area too, that it could be going away. That all those skills that I built up to be useful, you may not need anymore, to write a book or to put a story into place with all these lessons, when AI or, a robot employee doesn't need that, doesn't need to be motivated. They just do it because they're programmed to do it. And so it makes you feel a little bit, again, it's not anxious or scared. It's just, it's an unknown as to what's your role, what's your place now, what good is all of that life if the world changes right before your eyes. And I laugh because I don't have an answer to that. I really don't. It's a disconcerting feeling as far as your significance. If you think of, it's arrogance, but you want to be able, just like I wrote that book so that 50 years from now, somebody might want to know what I thought about something. And in reality, nobody may want to know what I thought about anything, right? I may not be important enough or ever thought of regardless. And so it's arrogance to think that you want to leave something behind, but you do. As a human being, you search for ways to kind of make your life feel significant or feel like it impacted the rest of the world. You just don't want to vanish into oblivion, right? And so it with the changes currently going on, it makes somebody like me wonder if that's even possible, because like we said from the very start, you kind of lose the energy to learn a whole new world or to kind of jump into the information age that we have, or the technology age that we have. I don't know what my role is supposed to morph into. So I worry about that a little bit. And then I also remember this comedian, though. I don't know if you follow Louis C.K. at all. He's been all over the map and up and down, but he's got a great bit about when you get to that point, that's kind of your signal that you're ready to get off the stage. Like you don't have to be afraid of it or worried about it, because if it doesn't make sense to you or you can't find your place, so to speak, that's kind of a symbol that it's time for you to retire and just kind of go on. Because the young people like you, they won't know any different. You're going to be fine with it. You're going to figure out a way as a human being to be relevant and to intercede your life into the new technology, just like you're doing now with these interviews and using technology, whatever it is, AI, robots, you're going to figure it out because you're young and you're energetic and you're focused and you grow up with it. Just no different than I grew up with, a VCR or a DVD for the first time, or a CD, things that are already obsolete, right? I used to actually buy records at the store that you played on a record player. Now all the music, of course, is on the internet. Anyway, my point is, I'm sure to my parents and my grandparents, the stuff I was doing seemed like, out of this world, and they probably felt like that they didn't have a place either. So it's just natural kind of progression. And I don't know if I answered your question on this one, because I don't have an answer as to what I'm supposed to do with the new world. Thankfully, I'm in a position, the federal government is not the most cutting edge of employers. It hasn't really gotten into AI to produce the work that I do, or to use those types of technologies in what I do. It's starting, but it's just starting. So I've not had to deal with that personally. And socially, what I see out there is, I don't know if anybody will read an actual hard copy of a book in the next generation. Everyone's got earpieces in and they listen to podcasts, and maybe you're wasting. Like, I'm writing a book now, another book, because it's fun, and I feel like I have something to say, but it could be a dying technology that you're investing time in. I totally understand that. So, yeah.
So if technology experts are watching well, and with all their experiences with human connections, like human relationships that you had, so what do you say to them, like how the technology should be,
How's the technology again? Say it again.
how the technology should be, the upcoming technology, advanced technology.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that what I think matters about that. I'm not in any kind of position to run, but obviously technology helps. It makes everything, or at least the intent of it is to make everything better. I do, and again, this is where I sound like a cranky old man that just needs to retire. So I don't want to sound like that. But I do feel like there's a level of comfort and complacency, or you don't have to work as hard in many respects to do the same amount of work that you used to have to work harder to do. And that there's another comedian I follow that calls that reverse improvement. And, you know, I think technology is going to go regardless. It's going to keep going forward. So you can't stop it. That's my point is I don't know that it matters what I think, but I do think there's a level of technology that it's okay. It's like a roller coaster. If you think of a roller coaster and you go up the roller coaster slowly, right? And everything's going better, better, better. The view gets better. It's beautiful. You get to the top of that roller coaster and you can see everything. And it's not taken off yet. And it's just starting to where you can feel the breeze in your hair and you can see everything. And it's that feeling of wee, like it's perfect. There's a perfect moment there where the roller coaster can't get any better. Because once it starts, it's going to start corkscrewing and flipping, and it's just a wild mess. Okay. Well, that's kind of how I feel about technology. I feel like there was a point there in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s where technology was just good enough, where we had, you know, computers and phones and access to information, and whether it's anything from Netflix to Amazon, like there was a point there where everything was just the right amount of ability and technology and exposure. And then at some point, it's gone past the point to where, you know, you have too much exposure too soon, to where, you know, you have all these kids who are anxious or stressed, or they're vain, or they're, you know, they're losing their happiness because they see everything before they're ready to handle it. And I give another comedian quote is Dave Chappelle says, you know, you can't care about anything when you know everything. And that's what I worry about for your generation, and especially your kids someday, is that you're exposed to too much too soon before you can handle it or before you're prepared for it. I didn't have that problem. You know, I just knew I go to school, I get a job, whatever's in front of me. I didn't know that the people down the street were doing something else, or the people in another country were doing. I didn't compare myself all the time because I didn't have the access. I didn't hear news stories every day that made me stress. We didn't have to worry about that. And so way back to our first question is, it's harder now to keep out the distraction because you have more knowledge, you have more exposure. And so I'm kind of rambling about technology, but that's a negative I see, is too much exposure, too much distraction. You can't even tell what's true if what you're reading on the internet, you don't even know if it's a doctored photograph or if it's, you know, a news article that has any kind of authenticity, or if it's been vetted for sources. And so people are more prone to distraction and misinformation. And that's a hard thing. That makes life a lot harder to stay focused on and know what's important and what's true. So I worry, that is what I would say to you, but I don't know that you can stop the roller coaster now that it's over the top of the hill. You're going to have robots, and you're going to have AI, and you're going to have, I worry, a generation of people that, you know, they have Netflix and they order their DoorDash and their Amazon, and they don't really have to experience people like you're doing, or experience hard work like you're doing. And what kind of person does that create? I don't know. But I say all that to say it makes me sound like a cranky old man that thinks it was better 20 years ago. And that means I probably should just get off. You know, it's not my world anymore, and you'll be fine. You'll figure it out, and all your generation will adapt. So I have faith in the human race. How about that?
So I have a connected question with what you said just now. Is I recently Can you able to hear me?
Yeah. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a connected question with what you have just said now. Uh, you know, my previous interview was with a German Microsoft expert, a expert who works in Microsoft from Germany. I interviewed him. After completion of the interview, I asked him a question. Like, what do you say about my work? What do you think about my podcast and me interviewing different human beings who belong to different industries and different countries? What do you say about my project? I asked him, and his answer was, AI is going to replace everything in coming days. AI is
Yeah.
going to take over a lot of jobs, a lot of work.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say you, one compliment I will give you is AI can't replace what you're doing now.
That's good. That's great. Well, that's, and that's a great answer in that, you know, I know I'll see a change in my work as industries go away. When people lose their jobs, part of what they do might be to file for disability if they've got problems. More cases will come to me if, say, all the truck drivers lose their jobs because the trucks drive themselves, right? When whole industries collapse because of that. And, I'm sure he's got more expertise than me that, AI is going to replace a lot of careers. And what do you do with these people? How do you give them a career or a way to make their living? And I love the fact that there are some careers or the hobbies, even like you're doing right now, that will not go away. That's wonderful to hear. But yeah, I don't know if that's kind of the proposal of the universal basic income. At what point do you just have to take these large groups of people and just pay them as a government to live because there's no job for them to do? When all your Amazon delivery people don't need to deliver it because drones do it or automated cars do it. There's a lot of jobs that just go away. I grew up in a town that has had that happen, and not AI, but coal mining in small town Kentucky. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, all through the Industrial Revolution and two world wars, coal and that production powered the country. And it wasn't AI, but it was the change to clean energy and environmental regulations. They left that industry behind. And all those coal miners really didn't have a job to transfer to or a career. The same thing happened. My point is, I have faith in the human race in that we've been through this before with other things, maybe not to this extent. AI may take away so many jobs that we can't evolve as an economy. I worry about that. Can everyone do interviews like you? Can everyone make Instagram content and make money? Is that how we can survive? I don't know. I even thought too, with the way that Elon Musk is trying to get us to Mars or other planets. I wonder if by the time we need it, will we have a whole new world to start all over again with factory jobs and building houses and things on a new planet? Maybe that's what'll happen. I don't know, but I just try to have faith in the human race or human species that you and your next generation and smart people will adapt and figure it out. And I only say that because I look back at history and my life, and that's kind of what happened in different ways. Now, again, that roller coaster has never been this fast and this crazy, in my opinion. So it's hard to imagine how we're going to deal with it. But I'm sure in the 1900s, they thought the same thing. How are we going to deal with cars or electronics and television? I'm sure they had the same fears. So I'm going to hope for the best. But I don't have enough knowledge like that fella, or even you. I don't have any expertise on that. But it is pretty amazing to watch.
Oh, So my intention to do this global project and interview experts from all around the world is to like it is a good cause that I'm doing, not just interviewing it just for the passion. Uh, he, if one day if a asteroid comes and hits our planet and everything is vanished on this planet and nothing is there, and in some data center and in some server in some storage device, if if some species from other part of the planet, other part of the universe, like aliens or any other species are they try to find it on our planet, and they come and they search and they find a data center, and where there is a server, in that server there is a storage of these videos that I'm doing, and where you and me talking like this. I
Yeah,
mean, the information that you're telling now is
yeah,
going to be extremely valuable, because everything that you said in this conversation, every word matters, for the person who didn't experience your life.
yeah. Well, I agree with that, and I hope that's still true in future generations. Because I do think that's why you write a book of all your lessons. That's why you have an
Correct.
interview, meet people. You're whatever you're putting out there in the universe could help somebody else. And I hope there's someday, even when aliens come and the world's gone, that we know that they would listen to your interview
Correct.
and some whatever electronics they have in their hand, and I hope that they would get something out of it. So yeah, I hope that's the case. I know it's been the case up to now, and like I said, I'm struggling with our place like that going forward. If people will ever pick up the book or ever listen to your interview, you know, uh, I hope that whatever species we become or merge with will get something out of that, because I that's your motivation. That's why you do it, because whatever you do could help somebody else. That's really it. And maybe they'll at least see that if they don't listen to to the um, the content, but maybe they'll at least see that human beings tried to help other human beings, and that was their motivation. We don't. None of us know what's really going to happen. None of us truly know why we're here, but that's something you can kind of hang your hat on. That is always true. You just try to help other people, and you try to hold their hand and be with them through this life, whatever we're doing. And there's a good feeling in that, and that cannot be denied. From coaching, from growing up, you know, sharing this journey with somebody else, like today's interview, is much better than just going through it alone. And so at least maybe those aliens will get that lesson, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
do you have those valuable experiences that that people need to know, that you never shared with anyone, and that you wanted to share, even you didn't share it in your books?
Mm, that's a good. I would stick to my I guess my grandmother's motto that I've kind of learned to live by, and that um, you know joy, the good things in life, happiness, contentment, um, love, those things are wonderful, and when they're right, they're super easy, and those are the reasons that we go through all the other heartache and hard work and hardship to get the chance to have those things. And it just, I wouldn't have any one particular experience other than um, it's a cumulative effect that you constantly relearn, that you do what you have to be able to enjoy what you want to, and the ability to swallow that down and digest all of the work and the distraction and the stress of life, whatever comes at you. um, it's worth it. So I, rather than having a one experience, I would just say 55 years of life experience. I would say, and that's what the book said, that's the message of the book, is whatever you're going through, it's worth it. It truly is worth it. And it won't feel like that at the time. Sometimes people are depressed, or they're just overwhelmed with things that happen to them. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so I would encourage everyone, whatever they're dealing with, you've dealt with a lot of things in the last couple of years. We all have. And you may feel at certain times that it's just unbearable, or why are we doing this? This is not worth it. And that's not true. And no matter how you feel, when you get through whatever storm you're in, you get to a different place, and you can appreciate that. So that'd be my lesson. And I would tell the aliens that when they come, if they're having a hard time, keep at it. Just keep at it and believe that there's something else coming. And in my experience, it has been true.
So one last question is, um, you have been in this, maintaining your body and controlling your mind. So how do you able to do that, all these years?
Yeah. Well, like I said, exercise is one. It doesn't have to be, I'm kind of religious about it, and it's been a habit my whole life, but you don't have to do an extravagant, workout program. It's really just about moving your body, just getting out, getting sunshine, going for a walk, doing something every day to remind your body that, it's a thing too. It's not just about your mind on the computer screen or whatever you're doing. Get out and move. That's one. And then two, writing. It's no different than exercising your body. You exercise your brain, not with work. You're going to do that all the time. You do your work and your focus and your interviews and your coding or whatever you're doing. But just the creative side of your brain, the free side of your brain, it needs to be allowed to rejuvenate or recreate itself or to express itself. So I do that writing. Some people will do it with a podcast. Some people will do it with reading a book, and where you can just take your mind into a different world. But even though it doesn't sound important, it is. And that ability to, some people meditate, some people use religion, fine, great. Whatever religion that is, it could be even just the religion of working out, every day. It's a commitment. But that peace or that separation is what I would say from your stress is a good practice to have. Find whatever it is that allows you to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you say to the audience who are watching you and listening to you right now from anywhere on this planet? From your experiences that you learned, or that that works for everyone?
Yeah, I would remind everybody, if they haven't gotten this from our conversation, I even have that on my little Twitter profile or X profile, but I'm not an expert in anything. I'm an average person. I feel like my whole life I've been average in the way that I think, in what I've learned, the things I've gone through, ups, downs, all of it. And it makes me feel like, though, if I'm the average person and I can get to where, you have some peace and some comfort and some faith in the future, then, everyone can get there, or everyone at least has the ability, or it's inside them to get there. My point is, what I'm saying is that don't take anything I say as, a guy who knows it all or thinks that he's got it all covered. 'Cause I don't. We all deal with it every day, and that closing the mechanism and fighting out distraction still happens every day, whether it's with kids or parents or work. So I would just say, if I could do it, anybody could do it. So take comfort and courage and enthusiasm from that.
So at last, what do you say about my work? Me interviewing different experts and different people, and how this is going to be helpful for me in my career as a judge, as a as a person who is into attorney and attorney and also being a physical trainer and also being an author of a book and throughout your experiences as an expert, like what is your observation about my work?
Yeah. Well, I'm not seeing, your true professional work, your engineering work, right? I wouldn't know it if I saw it. I wouldn't know anything about it. But from an interviewer standpoint, I tell you this, I don't know if I told you this, but my first job was in radio and at a newspaper. So for the first 5 years, from age 13 to 18, I wrote for a newspaper back in the old days when we actually, went to a event and covered it and wrote a story and it was printed and you got a newspaper the next morning. And the old radio where I did the weather and the news and I played records and all of it. And the point is, I have a little experience in media, right? In writing stories or reporting things. And I would say you do an excellent job. And you kind of were a natural at it because my memory of our first interview in 2021 is that you were the same as you are now. As far as the great parts about what you do is that it's very conversational. It's very comfortable. You're not reading off a script, or if you are, you can't tell. And your next question flows from the answer from the question before it. So you don't have a rigid list of questions that you stick to. You kind of just flow with where the conversation goes. And that makes, I think, when somebody listens to this or listens to you, when I listen to your other videos, it makes it more enjoyable. And it also makes it more palatable or easier to listen to than somebody who's just rigid and reading off a cue or trying to get certain things covered, no matter what that person says. You're actually listening and adapting the conversation. So I think it's excellent. And I would encourage you to continue that ability just to be, conversational and friendly to and caring to the person you're talking to. That comes through very much.
Oh, how these conversations are going to be helpful for my career.
One more time, I'm sorry.
How these conversations with different experts are going to helpful for my career. Communicating with different experts who are into different industries and who are into different professions and who are into different age groups. How these diversified communicating experience globally is going to helpful for me for my career.
What would I give you as advice to improve upon your communication? Yeah, is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I would consider myself a pretty easy interview in that we're not talking about, super precise or like we're not talking about engineering where you have to have a lot of insider knowledge of a certain topic. We're just kind of talking about life, right? But what I've seen you do when you talk to people that have more, I guess, precise or professional topics that you're dealing with, you do a good job of researching that or knowing a little bit about what they do ahead of time. Okay. And so I would just encourage you, it was not a really advice as much as it is encouragement. I would encourage you to keep doing that. And that's from the experience I had as a reporter myself, is the more you know about your subject and the more you know about the person ahead of time. Like you knew me from 3 years ago, so I wrote a book, I was a coach, whatever. The more you can do that, the better prepared you are to go where the conversation takes you. And it might be harder for certain interviews because it's more of a complex subject. We just talked about life, which is great. But if you were talking about, nuclear physics or calculus to me, then you need to know a little bit about that topic. Or if you're talking about to somebody who's had, a life and a career in a place that you're not familiar with. If that Martian comes down to you and you interview the Martian, you want to know where they're from and what they've done and a little bit about that to make yourself a better interviewer. That's what I would say.
So, can I, Tony, sorry, can I put this video on my podcast, this clip on my podcast with your permission?
If you think that people will listen to this, you put it anywhere you want. I'm happy to talk to you, and I wish you well. I hope it goes, viral.
Definitely.
At least
it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is extremely enjoyable, and it's great to know your experiences and know what you felt and what things worked for you. I'm sure even at least one person from anywhere on this planet changes in a positive way. You
Yeah.
are going to be the supporter, and I'm going to be the contributor for that.
We did our job today then, right? So 2021 and now 2025. So when the next book gets finished, it'd be 2029. We'll do it again.
Definitely. Can you share your books? Can you share your books to my audience? Can you spell it so that they can get it who are listening to this?
Hang on. It's back here. Yeah, hang on.
Sure.
This is the one that I would recommend that they read. I don't know if you can see this, but it's Once Upon a Rhyme. And this is the book that encourages everyone to remember it's worth it. Whatever they're going through, basically don't give up. So you'll get through it. And there's all those coaching lessons are in there. And it's just a story about a father and son for 1 week and all they go through. And it's got all the lessons. So yeah, that's why.
Do you want to share your online presence to my audience?
If you wish. I don't have a great, online presence, but I do have X and the books on Amazon. But that's about all I got. But you're welcome.
What's the name? Yeah, what's the name? Like
Tony the Greek.
Can you spell it? Spell it?
TONY, and then it's an underscore, and then it's the THE Greek GREEK. And welcome to follow. I don't do much, but it's on there, and it's got a link to the Amazon if you want to buy the book. But
so I'll share your links. I'll share your links in the description of this video, also on my website. People who finds our video anywhere in the internet, and also who finds our video or clip on my website, can able to see the work that you are doing, and also your books, and also what you're going to share online.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I appreciate it much. I thank you for the exposure. You have many more followers than I ever will.
Definitely, sir. It's a great opportunity for me to interview you again, and thank you very much for your valuable time and for your valuable experience.
Anytime you want to talk or just hang out, we don't have to do this. We just yell at me. But if you ever want to do this again, just let me know.
Definitely, I'll let you know, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.